Hello, everybody. Welcome back to On the Come Up with KG. This is the first episode of season 2. Can we believe I made it this far? No, I cannot. I can't believe it's already been a year. I started off with a partner or somebody else doing the majority of everything that I'm now doing by myself. Now it's just me. That goes to show the dedication that I have for this platform because it's not easy. But yeah, we are strolling into the new year, new season, new adventures, new topics, new guests, everything just fresh, everything just new, and I am super excited. As y'all may see, I've been gone a while, and right before actually, I think on the very last solo episode, I said I was going to do an episode a week for the next 6 months, which was very much my intention. But as y'all know, stuff happens, life happens. I work full time and I do a lot of other things on the side. Mental health, a lot of that just, got in the way of that. Sounds like a lot of excuses, which is really what I tell myself because I'm a very self-aware person and I don't like to make excuses for myself. But ultimately, that's the truth. I just been so overwhelmed and so focused on other things. And I think the time was very much needed because I feel like it was time to refresh, do a new season, and kind of wipe the slate clean, refresh. And now we're here with season 2. And so what we're going to talk about on this episode, it's just a lot of stuff. I'm just gonna yap. What I do best, I just yap. I'm just gonna yap. I don't really have anything written out, but I do know there are some things that I want to address in this podcast episode. So we'll do that. First of all, the inconsistency. I always tell myself it's a mind over matter thing, right? So the only person who's preventing me from being consistent is me, which is very true. And I always thought I was strong-willed, strong-headed, that nothing can stop me. I'm going to be consistent. People who are inconsistent just make excuses. And then life hit me. And I realized sometimes it really just is beyond your control. And a lot of things are more spiritual than anything. And you really need to put on the full armor of God and be ready for war. And I was not ready for war. I thought I was ready for war, but I wasn't. And so this break was very much needed. I feel like I am slowly but surely getting back to myself, getting back to doing the things that I love. And I'm ready to get back there and just make connections, have great conversations, and share with you all this wild, crazy journey. And so I think one of the main things, though, that's kind of been preventing me from creating content is I did pretty well, pretty fast. And I think that responsibility becomes overwhelming. So one thing is like when you have something that you're doing, and honestly, when you feel like it's a mission presented to you by God, that's another type of load to carry. It's like you really don't want to mess up. You really don't want to disappoint him. You really don't want to miss your mark. And I think sometimes that load of responsibility makes me not want to do it. But then on the contrary, it's like you or me, I'm gonna speak from my very own experience, but I didn't find any peace while not doing the podcast. I think I find a lot of the times that when everything seems chaotic or everything doesn't seem right or I don't feel in alignment, the one common thing is that I'm not actively working on the podcast, whether that's I'm not editing, I'm not filming, which is the most difficult thing to do. I'm not trying to gather guests. I'm not making those connections. I'm not opening my mind and my heart to having those conversations. And the reason I started the podcast is because I really do like to tune my heart and to tune my ears to have passion-filled conversations with people. And lately it's just like I've been so consumed in my own mind that I couldn't even allow that space for myself, let alone anybody else. So I think that's another reason why I think this break was very necessary. I actually planned on filming with somebody else today, but I also felt called to do a solo episode as an introduction to the very first episode of season 2. So it kind of ended up working out. I'll still be filming with guests, obviously, just not for this episode. I think it's very important that we get a little personal for the first episode of the second season. For all of you who are new here, this podcast is dedicated to cultivating community through conversations surrounding creativity, passion, purpose, and God. And If you want to go back and watch all of my interviews, my main goal is to create a safe space here. Comforted conversations for people. I want the episodes to feel more like a conversation and less than an interview. And I just want to create a space for everybody to kind of showcase why they do what they do. Not necessarily what they do, but why that they do what they do and what's really that driving point. So, this is my baby, and I hold it near and dear to me. And there has been so many people. Another thing I want to say, like, the creative space in Dallas is so beautiful. There has been so many people who's offered their help, who's offered advice, who's offered to share this platform, who shouted out this platform against my will. I'm not a very, contrary to popular belief, I'm a pretty shy person. I'm very introverted, but I also put myself in spaces where I can connect and meet different people. And those people have been very supportive, very helpful. And I just want to thank every single person who has contributed to this podcast up until this point, whether you've helped me film, whether you've listened in to make sure that the audio was working the whole time, because y'all know I'm a one-woman show, whether you've been a guest, because most of the guests have been friends or people that I know in my personal life. Whether you've had conversations with me behind the scenes that spark some type of motivation or inspiration for a conversation on the podcast, whether you've shared it, whether you've liked it, whether you've listened to it, just like all across the board, any type of support, I cannot tell you guys enough how thankful. It's a very small community, but I do have a lot of faith that it's going to grow into a very large community. And I just thank you guys for keeping me going, for your kind words, everybody who supports me, my family, my sisters, my brothers, my mom, my grandma, everybody who even takes the time to listen to me yap. So thank y'all. That was long-winded. I wasn't really expecting to do that, but okay. That I've been exploring DJing. So I've been doing a lot more of that lately. I've been creating a lot more opportunities for myself. And I think people recognize that. And so people offer opportunities to me. That's one thing that I wanted to mention. Kind of forging my way into these creative spaces, there's so much pride, right? And it's kind of like you see a lot of clawing and people trying to claw their way to the top. And I think one thing that I'm proud of myself for is really maintaining a close relationship with God, therefore keeping my integrity and knowing that there is no competition, just because I'm the best and I dominate, but really because I'm in my own lane and the things that I do are really breeded and the foundation is off of passion and God's will. So I don't feel the need to step on anybody's toes to get anywhere ever. And if you know me in real life, you know that is the God's honest truth. But I do stand on my integrity, and I have declined a lot of opportunities just because I don't think that the people or the person or whatever the case may be, even the venue aligns with just what I believe in. But I have come across a lot of people who don't think that way. And I think it's kind of weird. It's kind of scary. But I think it's important to create opportunities for yourself. Like, forget having a seat at the table. You bring the table, you make the table, right? And then those people who are in alignment with you and your vision will flock to you. That's what I've been doing a lot of, just really protecting my space. Because once that judgment gets clouded, it's a dangerous game you playing. So I've been doing a lot of that, creating more spaces like the podcast and other things that I've been working on privately that you guys will probably see soon. Yeah, I feel like I've just been working. I've been working on a lot of different things, and working on myself internally, working on my relationship with God, working on the podcast, working on other side projects, trying to stay busy, trying to keep things going. But yeah, it does feel good to be back. I feel a little bit intimidated. I feel a little bit disappointed. I kind of feel like you guys are disappointed, but it's life. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I think I need help. And I think I'm kind of scared to admit that I need help. I think that's a bulk of the problem too. I kind of feel bad asking people for help, but I wanted to say be easy on yourself. Extend yourself grace. When you know that God has given you a vision, my friend Shinari said this a couple episodes before, but when God has given you a vision and he's given you an assignment, he's given you a mission, he's already factored in your stupidity. So I've been beating myself up and even hesitant to start the podcast back up because I feel like I made a promise to myself and I made a promise to these people in 4K that I was going to be consistent, and I failed to do that. But what looks more bad, the fact that I'm so inconsistent that I just did it I was consistent for a couple weeks and then I just stopped doing it, period, or that I slowed down a little bit and then I picked back up. And also I picked back, knowing that I picked back up with more to offer, whether that's better production, better speech, better conversations, better guests. I think it's all about being better. And honestly, doing your best is going to look different every single day. The best that I can give you yesterday might have been cleaning up my entire house, but the best I can do today is probably roll out of bed and brush my teeth. That might be all I got today. That might be my best. But as long as I'm giving my best, I'm doing something right. As long as I'm in communication, as long as I know what God has said on my heart, I think I'll be fine. But again, I feel like God has really just been putting this nudge on me. So I'm really excited to see what happens on this platform. I'm really excited for the guests that we're going to be bringing on this platform. I'm just excited. I'm excited. I think a lot of great things are going to happen. I think after a year's work, I've learned so much, ups and downs, and what works, what doesn't work. Ultimately, I just learned you got to do it. You just got to do the damn thing. Honestly, anybody who is sitting there and saying that they're preparing for something and they haven't started something because they're in the preparation stage, that is an excuse. That is nothing but an excuse. You are procrastinating. You are procrastinating and you're putting a pretty little name on it. Planning, procrastinating, BS. There is, especially with this process, I have learned there is not enough planning that you can do to have a successful podcast. Okay? You have to just do it. You have to learn from it. You have to fall on your ass. You got to get back up. You got to cut people out. You got to bring people in. You got to know what works. You got to know what doesn't work. That's all you can do. That's all with anything, with DJing. Child, I've been DJing for like 7 months. I haven't been DJing that long. I got my first gig like a month after I bought my board. There was not enough preparation that I can do to prepare myself to DJ in front of a crowd. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just got to do it, and you got to fall flat on your face, and you got to get back up, and you got to dust yourself off. And you know what? There are going to be people who have something to say about the fact that you failed, but just know that you are always doing better by failing than the person who sat there and didn't do anything. Okay? One thing that I like to say all the time is that there are doers and there are dreamers. We're all dreamers. We all have dreams. We all have thoughts. We all have aspirations. And then there's doers. There's people who actually go after what they want, despite what everybody says, despite what society says, despite the economic state of the world, despite inflation, despite anything else, despite those mind bullies. There are people who go out there and do what they want to do. And I am just blessed that God has given me the ability to be one of those people. And that I'm still here and I'm still standing, and it's public for you all to see that I'm falling and I'm failing and I'm inconsistent and I have hard days and I'm doing it by myself and things are not working out in my favor. And one day the podcast is doing really well and the next day it's not doing so well. And despite the numbers, I am set on this mission because that's what I've been called to do. And all of us are called to do something. You just got to be willing to tune your ears to do it. And when your mind says no, your heart says yes. The Holy Spirit says yes. And there's not enough planning you can do. You got to know that God's provision, He will along the way provide you with every single thing that you need. And I don't mean just financially, I mean spiritually. Never in a million years that I think that I would have enough confidence to do something like this to be DJing in front of crowds, to make the connections that I've made, to have the conversations that I've had publicly. Never in a million years could I have guessed that I've been capable of doing something like that, but here I am. Because God knows you better than you know yourself. And, you know, when you do the work, when you put it in, and I don't mean physical work, I mean emotional, spiritual work. When you get all that aligned, everything else kind of drips down. When you do all that work, it just comes to you. It flows to you. And yeah, I don't have really much else to say. This is kind of just an introduction to the second episode. This is kind of just an introduction to the second season. I just kind of want to give you guys but yeah, and you know, I just, like I said, I've learned so much in this process. I learned that I've learned so much. I just learned so much. I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about the process of being a creative. Up until I started this podcast, I never considered myself a creative person. I knew I was smart, but I never considered myself creative. And creativity comes in a lot of different forms, a lot of different ways. It's just really crazy that when you open your heart and when you soften your heart and really let God tune you out and let him do what he does best, you figure out all these things about yourself at 25 years old. And don't you think that you know yourself better than anybody else, that you know what you're capable of and you know what you can and cannot do? Don't you think you know that? And it's just so hilarious to me. It's like the things that I've told myself up until last year are ridiculous. All the negative self-talk, all the doubts, all the playing small. It's just, it's crazy. It really is crazy. The things that can change in your life in a year. And what also is crazy is like, it's just crazy. Like I don't hang around the same people I did last year. I don't go to the same places I went to last year. I don't watch the same type of content I was watching last year. So much has changed about me, but it's just beautiful. It's beautiful to let God into your life and be willing and always ready in a state to evolve and do better and take constructive criticism and listen and not be so comfortable being stagnant. I think that is a gift. That is such a gift. When I look around people around me, or even look at the way that I grew up, or look around the people that I've had in my life, it's such a beautiful thing to be blessed with the mind that I don't want to say is never satisfied, but is always reaching for more, always willing to grow, always willing to be a little bit uncomfortable to better myself. And that is one of the greatest gifts God can have given me. Like, forget the money, forget everything else. Those are all an addition. I think those were all little things that came with me opening my heart and really allowing him to come in and tune me out. So I'm always grateful for that. I'm grateful for this platform again. I'm grateful for you all. I'm grateful for the opportunities that are going to come for this podcast. I'm just excited to be working again. And that's all. I just wanted to, reintroduce myself, welcome y'all all here. And I will see you guys on next week's episode of On the Come Up with KG.